Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of D.E.I. Deathwatch, where we chronicle the downfall and the doubling down of diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's Monday. Welcome to Monday. Hope everybody's doing well on this beautiful Monday afternoon. Let's see. We got so many little doodads and doohickeys to do on here now. There we go. Now I'm a real streamer. Yeah, so happy Monday, if Mondays can be happy. It's Thanksgiving week, so it's a short week for most people. I have Thursday off officially. I still have to work Friday. I'll probably still be working Thursday a little bit as well. But hope everybody's having and if you're already on vacation, congratulations. And I hope you enjoy your time off from the usual grind. But who's here joining me on this beautiful Monday afternoon? Noah Asensio. Good afternoon. Advocatus Diaboli, hello. Mike Savage, blarg. Levite Scream, hello. Walter Tomaszewski, recovering steadily from bad cold sinusitis. Still a bit croaky and coughing, but my voice is coming back. George and Philip knew I wasn't feline well and wanted me to get a CAT scan procedure. Very well, Walter. Very well. That'll do, pig. That'll do. Advocatus Diaboli, hello. What else is here? Keeverdam, hello, and thank you, Keeverdam, as always. Guys at the top of the chat box, please take a look at the link to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society donation page. If you can donate, please do so, but even if you can't, if you can share that out on social media, that would be appreciated. And thank you, Keeverdam, as always, for providing the link. Jill Powers, good afternoon. Holy cow. Look at all those hellos. She's basically done for me. Thanks, Jill. Hope you're doing good. Adam Nixon, good afternoon. Who else is here? Robert Pincus, hello. Kiro Soldier, hello. Kirsten Scholes over on the X Machine. Yes, I am simulcasting on X. So if you happen to have an X account and see the stream over on there, please retweet it or re-exit or whatever they call it these days. Joel McLaughlin, hello. That's a name I haven't said in a while, I think. Joel, nice to see you. It's like old home week around here. But yeah, boy, we've got some DEI news. Noose. Not noose. Now, we learned that last time. That's a hate symbol. Noose. News. No news is good news? Good news. Let's talk about celebrity DEI intersection. Is there a video playing on this thing? There better. Hold on a second. Yes, there is. There's like a video ad playing. A Miley Cyrus video ad. I can't stop it. Is that going to cause me problems? It better not. This is not my fault. I would stop it if I could. Maybe I can. Hold on a second. Can I make that go away? I can. Good. Okay, there we go. I feel safer now. All right. Sorry, technical issues. Why Pharrell Williams' DEI comments miss the point. Now, for those of you who are veterans of this series and this channel, you'll know that Forbes is one of the biggest cheerleaders of DEI. So when they say that Pharrell Williams' comments miss the point, maybe Pharrell Williams is an ally of mine, sort of. Music mogul Pharrell Williams is facing backlash, primarily from Forbes, I'm sure, over statements the musician recently made on a panel. At an event to kick off the 5th annual Black Ambition Demo Day in Miami, Williams expressed his disdain for politics, stating how he thinks it can cause division and shared his views on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Okay. Regarding politics, Williams said, quote, like, despise them. It's a magic trick. It's not real. I don't believe in either side, because I think when you pick a side, you are inadvertently supporting division. Yes, it's not a popular point of view, but I gotta say, when I think about it, the wells are drying up, unquote. Regarding DEI, Williams stated, do you want someone to support your startup because you're black or because you're the best? So I think now for me, it's about us having the best ambition, and that's the reason why you should support these businesses. Yes, they happen to be black and brown, but it should be based on the thesis that they're the best, not because of a shade of skin color, unquote. Williams' team did not respond to a request for comment. I still get a little goofed out by the fact that black is always capitalized now, but brown isn't, and white generally isn't. Anyway, Williams' statements lean into a common narrative pushed by DEI critics. I know! Why is it so common? You gotta wonder. Why is it so common? Pushed by DEI critics that DEI focuses too much on black people. No. Black people are decidedly one of the central elements that DEI focuses on, but that's beside the point. DEI focuses on giving evaluation to race and evaluation to gender, and sometimes evaluation to your orientation, but primarily race and gender. And it doesn't matter what race or which gender, just that it does. And that's not right, and it's not fair. But I digress. Critics that DEI focuses too much on black people and that it can lead to the hiring of unqualified and unskilled black candidates. Just take, here, let me give you a little advice, Forbes. Just take the word black out of it. It really, again, fundamentally has nothing to do with one particular race, because there have been plenty of programs that have tried to focus on anything but white people or one specific ethnicity or race that isn't black people. It doesn't matter. If DEI is going to elevate someone to prominence or to preference because of what they look like, it's wrong, regardless of what it is that they're valuing. Anyway, let's see. What DEI was originally created to do was to address discrimination in order to allow people from historically excluded populations to have access to the same opportunities that have been denied to them for centuries. But the people from centuries ago aren't alive, and they're... Anyway, DEI seeks to address the varying levels of historic harm and marginalization that still exists across industries and fields today. Oh, do you have evidence for this marginalization that still exists? Is your evidence simply population disparities by any chance? Oh, look, bigger number bigger than smaller number, therefore racism. I got a feeling. Leveling the playing field, equality of outcome, by providing opportunities, by restricting opportunities from those that you don't like because of what they look like, for talented individuals that we deem talented first and foremost on the basis of their race or gender, from communities that have been systematically excluded, is what DEI was designed to do. Despite several programs and policies that were designed to address these systemic inequities within organizations and institutions, workplaces still struggle to hire, retain, and support employees from underrepresented populations. Underrepresented. How do you know that they are underrepresented? What evidence do you have of this? That they're actively being excluded? And again, if you simply point to a statistic disparity, that ain't evidence of nothing. The statements seem contradictory because Williams is the creator of a nonprofit initiative, Black Ambition, that is focused on, quote, working to close the opportunity and wealth gap through entrepreneurship. Well, maybe Pharrell is just 2 steps away from realizing he's contributing to the division by focusing on race. So, in a way, he is being a bit of a hypocrite. Maybe he's just not quite ready to make that final admission. You know? Addressing the opportunity and wealth gap requires acknowledging structural and systemic inequities in the United States that were designed to exclude, marginalize, and subjugate different populations. In a viral Substack essay, well, I haven't caught it yet, but okay, writer and cultural critic Louis Pisano, never heard of him, wrote about the irony of Williams' statements, calling him, quote, the most expensive diversity, equity, and inclusion hire in the history of European luxury fashion. Well, doesn't that make it a good thing? Why does it sound like you're using that phrase as a pejorative? Because if he was hired through a diversity, equity, and inclusion program or mindset, that's a positive, right? Pisano was referring to Williams' partnership with global fashion house Louis Vuitton. In 2023, the company announced that Williams would be its new men's creative director, and Williams debuted his menswear collection that same year at Paris Fashion Week. Well, let's say Louis Vuitton did hire Pharrell Williams because he was black, first and foremost. Let's say he was a DEI hire. You would be in support of that if you're criticizing him for criticizing DEI, right? I mean, sure, you could point to him being a hypocrite, but you'd also have to defend the choice, wouldn't you? To be clear, Williams is well within his rights to question whether DEI has been effective and to push back on whether DEI, in its current iteration, can liberate marginalized people. The problem is when someone of Williams' status repeats misguided talking points that have been weaponized to thwart equity efforts. Notice how our author does not say repeats misguided talking points that have been disproven. They've been weaponized to thwart equity efforts. It's a weapon. Pointing out that DEI promotes, let's just say unethical discrimination and possibly, depending on the circumstances, illegal discrimination, that's weaponizing it. Hey, you just killed that person. Yeah? Don't you know murder is illegal? What are you doing? Weaponizing the law against me? It could be argued that it's easier for individuals in positions of power and privilege like Williams to repudiate DEI without providing sufficient strategies or solutions to address why DEI was needed in the first place. DEI was not needed in the first place. You have not proven that DEI was needed. You just, classically speaking, every time I listen to a DEI advocate or professional, they point to bigger number bigger, smaller number smaller, therefore discrimination. It's the God of the gaps theory of statistical analysis. Every single time. There aren't enough of this kind of person in our workforce, therefore we have to address this problem. Simply because there's a disparity, therefore inequity, which is asinine. When it comes to how to address inequities in the black community, many have suggested business ownership as a vehicle for black liberation. Okay. Liberation, black liberation. Are we still living under chattel slavery or something? Did I miss something about American history or the last, 300 years or something? Not 300 years, 200 years. Well, almost three. Anyway. It is important for us to recognize that we cannot entrepreneurship our way out of systemic racism. Okay, so everything Pharrell Williams has done and the very convention he was at is pointless. Okay, we must acknowledge the limits of the black excellence mantra and how it is not a panacea for black harm. How? This is one of the most preachy Forbes articles I think I've ever read. Okay, do you have an answer for that, author? The controversy, it's not very controversial, save for those who are so sensitive about their adherence to DEI that any criticism becomes some kind of, declaration of war or something, weaponizing. The controversy is an example of a common phenomenon where celebrities who lack understanding or knowledge about a specific topic. Okay, so if Pharrell Williams had spoken out in support of DEI, then he's not lacking understanding. But because he speaks out against DEI, now he's a celebrity who's just a dummy. Fair weather friends much here? Who lack understanding or knowledge about a specific topic. He has an organization called Black Ambition. It falls straight within DEI philosophy, and he's been running it apparently for several years now. But now all of a sudden, that he starts to think, maybe this isn't quite right, now he's off into enemy territory. That's amazing. Okay. Without knowledge or specific topic, are given a megaphone. Pharrell Williams was just handed a megaphone. No, he hasn't been working in the music industry for years. and years as a successful musician and producer. No. He was just handed it. People pay attention to him because Pharrell Williams just showed up. Right? He just showed up. But yeah, Pharrell Williams is a DEI hire. Given a megaphone and end up regurgitating inaccurate and problematic talking points. You have yet to disprove any of what he said. We have this whole article, and he says, it's not right to start judging people on the basis of their race, and rather we should be judging them on their talent. Okay, and what is wrong with that sentiment? I keep waiting for him to give us some kind of clue here, but maybe I'm waiting in vain. Probably am. Thank you, Stu Pazzato. Okay, now YouTube has stolen your regular screen name from me, and I apologize. I am blanking on your real handle. So please remind me, because unless you're a first-time viewer, and I'm just blanking. Venison steak would be absolutely delicious right now. I might pay $1 million. Walter, did one of your cats start a YouTube channel or account? Is that what's going on here? Or are you guys in collusion or something? Because I got a sneaky... Boy, howdy. Is it going to be pun competition? I was once the Lord of Punishment. Back in the olden days. Back in the dark times. Before we went our separate ways. Anyway. This article, I didn't expect to spend this much time on this article, but this is amazing. Let's see. Okay, problematic talking points. A similar example occurred in 2024 when radio show host Charlemagne the God appeared as a guest on The Daily Show, where he talked about DEI and its failings and went on to say that it's, quote, mostly garbage, unquote. Okay, so far I'm seeing when a black person disagrees with Forbes magazine, they're dumb. We won't tell you why they're dumb, just they're dumb. You disagreed with us. You said something counter to what we believe. Therefore, you're a traitor of some kind? What kind of traitor would you be at that point? Don't know. Revolutionary activist Malcolm X warned us about the problems and pitfalls with propping up and pedestalizing black celebrities. Okay, again, if Pharrell Williams had said exactly what you wanted him to say, would you be denigrating him because he's a black celebrity? Black celebrities are often positioned as leaders in the black community. Who does that, by the way? But because of fame, wealth, notoriety, and access, they are far removed from the very same communities they try to speak on behalf of. Okay, so Pharrell Williams is so detached from reality and real people that he can't recognize that elevating people to positions of authority on the basis of their skin color is wrong. He's so above it all. Okay? Race or ethnicity should not be the only qualifiers to speak on DEI. No, here you got it wrong. They should not be any qualifier. They shouldn't be at all included. Not the only qualifiers. No. Here I got news for you, Forbes. And I know it's kind of ironic me telling you some news. In your decision-making pipeline, when it comes to hiring somebody, tell me at what point it is appropriate to have the racial filter, or the ethnicity filter, or the gender filter. Okay, I mean, it could be at the beginning of the pipeline, maybe somewhere in the middle, or maybe it's the very last part of the pipeline. Whatever. Okay, just decide where it sits in the decision-making process. And once you tell me that, I will tell you where in the decision-making process you're being unethical, unfair, and perhaps illegal. Because that's all it is. It should not be at all part of the decision-making process. Not that it's just one of many factors. It shouldn't even be in there. What does someone's race say about their capabilities? When you answer that question for me, I'll point to the racist in the room. Race or ethnicity should not be the only qualifiers to speak on DEI. Those who have knowledge and expertise on the subject and are most directly impacted by the removal of DEI policies should be platformed and centered in these conversations. Yes, the people who have been making a buck off of promoting illegal and unethical discrimination for years really shouldn't be silenced right now when DEI is on the downslope. No, we need to listen to them more because... And didn't you just say that Pharrell Williams was a recipient of DEI benefits? So he wouldn't have got that job with Louis Vuitton now or something? I don't know. Celebrities and those of a similar ilk. Again, if Pharrell Williams had come out on that panel and extolled the virtues of DEI, would you be downgrading his opinion right now? Celebrities and those of a similar ilk with a vast amount of wealth and privilege are often insulated from the very issues that DEI seeks to address. Okay. They have a level of access and money that shields them from societal harms. Really? Access and money shields you from societal harms. I can think of a couple of public incidents where shots were fired recently that didn't do a whole heck of a lot to protect people with access and money from societal harms. I could think of a whole slew of incidents. Some that weren't as dire, thankfully. But, I don't know. What about, what's her name at the TwitchCon? Or even though she's kind of a weirdo now, Ariana Grande being grabbed at that red carpet event. Yeah, people with access and money are just, they never have to worry about anything. And Pharrell Williams has no idea what he's talking about because he's rich. When you get richer, you obviously become dumber. Now, sometimes that can be true. Depends. But in this case, we have this gigantic article written by Forbes because Pharrell Williams thinks DEI might be counterproductive. And Pharrell Williams is wrong. Why? Because ad hominem. This entire article thus far is ad hominem. Pharrell Williams is rich. He doesn't know anything. And black celebrities, we were warned by Malcolm X not to trust black celebrities. When do you get to the part where you disprove his comments? Not telling us this is what DEI is supposed to do, but that he's wrong and why he's wrong. You haven't gotten to that part yet. It's interesting, isn't it? Walter Tomaszewski. After I once tipped my waitress, she fell over. So it's going to be that kind of show, is it? I'm talking about serious, intellectual media nonsense regarding DEI, and it's just going to be pun fest over here. I feel like you're not taking this. But hey, what are you going to do? It is what it is. Okay, we're almost done. I didn't expect to spend this much time on this one article, but this is absolutely fast. I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. It's like a TEDx talk. It's like, okay, Pharrell Williams said a thing. Pharrell Williams' comments are misleading and inaccurate. Okay, tell me why they are misleading and inaccurate. Pharrell Williams is a black celebrity who's too rich to be trusted. Oh my gosh, okay. More often than not, black celebrities, public figures, and those in positions of power have not fully reckoned with their own internalized oppression or reflected on the ways they contribute to systems of harm. Williams' statements echo a popular myth that is frequently disseminated by the DEI opposition. You really don't like Pharrell? Boy, Pharrell Williams must be a terrible, terrible person because he doesn't agree with DEI. Look at this. He's rich. He's detached. He doesn't know anything. He's got internalized depression that he's not acknowledging. This is not to say that DEI as a field and as an industry is without its faults and should not be admonished. Really? Well, he gave... Okay. Pharrell Williams, in the what, half a sentence that they quoted, gave one of the most reasonable yet mild criticisms of DEI, and you have written a few hundred words on this. So what faults are you willing to acknowledge? And does he even have a point? DEI has had many failings, such as, and these should be acknowledged and addressed often. Okay, go for it. Go for it. And don't tell me that the failings are, oh, the numbers haven't gotten to the point that we want them to be. Because that's not a failing. It might be a failing of your intent, but that's not a failing of the process. This is also not an argument against bad faith actors who infiltrated the DEI space when DEI was at its height and corporate interest had risen. Bad faith actors? You're not going to argue against bad faith? Oh my gosh, okay. Okay. Two things can be true though. DEI is not a perfect system. And many corporations that have attempted to implement DEI programs and initiatives have not created policies and practices that fully address workplace inequities. Okay, guys, I swear. Everybody else has done communism wrong. Okay, we're going to get it right this time. All those other guys that tried communism, they just got it wrong. We're going to do DEI. We're going to do it right because at its core, it has value. We swears, guys, we swears. But also, many of the anti-DEI talking points are not backed by data. Such as what? Okay. In a time when anti-intellectualism seems to be rising, it is imperative that we take every opportunity to dispel myths and misinformation. You had an entire article to do so. Tell me why Pharrell Williams was wrong. Tell me why when he says it's wrong to assess people on their race rather than their talent, that is unfair. Especially when they allow harm to persist, there should be growing concern around platforming individuals who lack a deep understanding of the issues they are speaking to. Celebrities are not experts on DEI and should not be treated as such. You're right, it does not take an expert to disprove DEI. You're absolutely right. When you repeat something enough times, people start to believe it. Yeah, like, DEI is good. DEI does good things. We swear it does good things. It does good things. So we must use every opportunity we have to stop the spread of falsities and propaganda. Every time we fail to call out destructive rhetoric, we are contributing to a larger system of harm that impacts us all. Good golly, this article needs to be put into a museum. Indiana Jones needs to come along and take this article and puts it in a museum. That is an amazing, nonsense, but classic DEI argumentation in its defense. Every point I've heard in defense of DEI was in that article. And everything you would hope to hear from someone actually trying to disprove someone's statement wasn't there. Because they got nothing. DEI puts race above merit. That's wrong. That's unethical. That's not fair. Well, you're just a privileged black celebrity who doesn't know what you're talking about. Right. Thank you, Stu Pizzano. I think I need to blow off some steam. I've been under pressure to service my boiler. Do. Do 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 bum bum. Da 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 da. I don't want to get a copyright strike. I better stop because obviously I sound just like Freddie Mercury. Okay, yeah, no, that I need to spread that article far and wide. That is an amazing article from Forbes. I'm gonna tweet that out after the show and just say, if you ever want to read the epitome of DEI defender rhetoric and ad hominem extremum in extremis, there we go. I can do Latin. That's the way to go. Man, that was something else. And that was just the first article. That was half an hour on the first article. I might have to cut back on a couple of these. Anyway, they say as they propagandize. Well, the word propaganda has become this, like it's an inherently negative thing. It implies that whatever someone is saying is inherently false or deceptive. Propaganda is anything that is trying to convince someone of something or, your average television commercial is propaganda. It's trying to convince you to buy something. It's not inherently bad. It is meant to be persuasive. And then you have to assess whether or not it's, truthful or accurate on its own merits. But simply using the word propaganda to describe something, it doesn't mean anything effectively. It just says, oh, someone said something that's trying to persuade you. Every time you watch a YouTube video, it's propaganda. More often than not, unless it's like a music video or something, maybe. Unless it's a music video that's like a ballad teaching a lesson or something. So yeah, the propagandize, yeah. Forbes, everything Forbes puts out is propaganda. Everything. Media companies are propaganda machines. It's taken on this weird connotation. That I guess, again, if you say something enough times, it's like, oh, propaganda must be bad. Oh, that's just propaganda. It's effectively meaningless when you say that. At least as an inherent pejorative. It just, anyway, sorry. It's my English major showing through. Yay, Stu Padazzo. Yeah. Stu Padazzo? Stu Padazzo. Is that like Sicilian for stupid or something? I really hope that your name isn't like Stuart Padazzo and I just inadvertently called you stupid. I would be upset by that. You probably would be too. Anyway. Media has always been kind of propaganda machine. Yeah. If you read a news article that or you read from a publication that has an obvious political persuasion or bent, it's propaganda. It might be mild. It might not be hitting you over the head with it, but this is why everybody has to assess things critically. And, take a look at what is being said, what isn't being said, and so on. And make up their own minds. It's a pun, stupid. Oh. I'm a stupid. Okay. Sorry. Oh, you weren't calling me a stupid. Oh. I felt sad for a second. I was being called names. Anyway, let's move on to article number 2. Okay. Now, in the wonderful litany of cities that are sneaking their way out of their DEI ideology, Atlanta officials quietly rebrand city's DEI office. So they didn't get rid of the office, changing the spots on a leopard. The city council recently passed an ordinance changing the equity office to the, quote, Office of One Atlanta, unquote. Because, equity, equality. There's one Atlanta. There aren't several Atlantas. The City of Atlanta office overseeing diversity, equity, and inclusion is getting a rebrand amid assaults at the federal level on such initiatives. You mean like legally justifiable threats of the termination of federal funding? That kind of assault? The city's Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, or EDI, oh wow, is being rebranded to the Office of One Atlanta after the City Council passed legislation on Monday making the change. Along with altering the name, the functions of the office will change, from establishing and implementing policies and other initiatives related to gender identity, social and racial equity, to supporting, quote, the direct efforts of anti-discrimination, social impact, and civil and human rights for all those who live, work, and visit the city of Atlanta, unquote, according to the legislation. Social impact, yes. We're keeping an eye on these new burgeoning catchphrases. We have belonging and inclusion, social impact, cultural change, that kind of stuff, or cultural impact. Impact. I said a while back they started using impact quite a bit to change the names of particular officials. I think it was during the time when Amazon and Netflix and the Academy Awards started getting rid of their DEI officers, or they started changing the job titles to like Global Impact Executive. Impact. The move comes as the Trump administration has targeted DEI initiatives and Atlanta officials grapple with how to respond. I don't know. How do you respond to internalized discriminatory policies and practices in Atlanta? If you had a policy or a practice in Atlanta, Georgia, that preferenced people on the basis of their race, by just hypothetically, how would you address that? It is a mystery. Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport lost tens of millions of dollars in federal grants this year for refusing to sign the administration's new anti-DEI grant language. Oh, so them and Python Foundation. Okay, well, if you're not willing to say we're not going to be discriminatory against people on the basis of their race, then Title VI. Ta-da! Mayor Andre Dickens told the Atlanta Journal-Constitution in September that his team was meeting often to decide what to do about Atlanta's minority and small business contracting programs. Okay, well, why don't you take the minority part out of it and just say small business contracting programs and assess who's going to get the contracts on the basis of past performance and quality. I know, it's a crazy idea. The city's equity office was first established by then-Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms 4 years ago. I could believe it. But she had previously announced the establishment of a similar office known as One Atlanta in 2018. When the equity office was created in 2021, it had a broad mandate. 2021, gosh, what was going on in 2021? To work with city departments and external partners to develop, quote, social justice policies and programs that confront issues, unquote, concerning economic and workforce mobility, housing affordability, health, LGBTQ affairs, transportation, education and youth engagement, immigrant affairs, climate change, resilience and sustainability, and criminal justice reform. Also, it slices, it dices, it juliennes fries, and it comes with a corkscrew attachment. Is there anything the Office of Equity couldn't do? Wow. Quote, formally making this office a part of our city government will ensure that this impactful work continues for years to come, Bottoms said at the time. But just a few years later, well, I mean, she said years, it could have been, as long as it was more than 1 year, then she was correct. But just a few years later, the equity office is gone. Well, it was there for years. Council members Cardin Wyckoff, Liana Bakhtiari, Aisha Collins, Jason Dozier, Alex Wan, and Michael Julian Bond introduced the ordinance to change the name to One Atlanta. Okay. Quote, this change enhances our efforts to serve communities across the city of Atlanta, Michael Smith Dickens' press secretary said in an email. Michael Smith Dickens' press secretary. No, it's just a name change to avoid the scrutiny because of the previous name and the language used, which is a red flag for possible, likely discriminatory practices. That's all it is. The office should be eliminated outright. But anyway, quote, with this expansion, we will have stronger coordination, deeper accountability, and more measurable outcomes for all who live, work, and visit Atlanta. As we advance a city of opportunity for all through the mayor's second term, this gives us the ability to align efforts focused on social impact and human rights more effectively, Smith said, by changing the name. By simply changing the label on the jar. Okay, the entire staff of the former equity office is being retained, and the budget is also staying the same, according to Smith. So what changed? The newly named the renamed office. It's a renamed. The newly named office will host a Meet One Atlanta community conversation in January to hear recommendations from constituents. Smith said nothing is changing with the city's Equal Business Opportunity Program, a long-standing minority business contracting program. So again, you are valuing businesses first and foremost on the race and or gender or ethnicity of its ownership before considering whether or not to give them a contract. And how is that just not, at the very least, in spirit, a violation of what the civil rights movement of the 60s was supposed to do away with? This is not the first government agency to change the name of its equity office. Oh, no. This is just the latest in a long line of very lame and lazy attempts to cover up and not change anything. Earlier this year, MARTA changed the name of its Office of Diversity and Inclusion to the Office of Corporate Compliance and Engagement. Again, DEI needs an IRS. Somebody just changes the name of their office, the name of their department or something. You got to have somebody come in and audit it for compliance. Unannounced. You just show up one day and say, hey, I want to take a look at your internal emails and anything, because you guys accept federal money, right? Okay, so I need to take a look at any emails or communications or literature regarding your policies under this banner to make sure that they're in compliance with federal law. Because here's the purse strings, says the DEI IRS. Here's the purse strings. They snap shut if we find that you're violating anything. If you don't hold these organizations and these institutions accountable and really put something at risk for them, they will just hide it. They will continue to do it, and they will just hide it with these lame name changes or, reprinting or word find and replace. Mike Savage, they're determined to keep the money for nothing going. Yep. That's it, just to avoid any scrutiny that could risk their federal funding or their grant programs. That's it. And it can core an apple. Ed Norton's view of Atlanta's DEI. I know. There's nothing that Atlanta's DEI office can't do. Guys don't make scribes sad. No. I've got a fairly thick skin at this point after years and years on the internet. You'd have to. In order to survive on the internet, you have to have a relatively thick skin. And on YouTube. Somebody criticizes something like, you did a bad thing. Like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I remember all the grief I got on my second true crime video. Part of the story in that video took place in a city in Canada. And I still remember my pronunciation of the city. But then as soon as I put that video out, it's like the Great White North just decided to descend on me and say, that's not how you pronounce that. And I'm like, I'm sorry. It's like, I did my best. I remember I looked up the city and I thought I had found a pronunciation of it, like a little phonetical thing. And I thought it was called Etobicoke. To this day, I don't recall what the correct pronunciation is, but everybody came down on me for that. And I was like, I'm sorry. But I'm like, and what am I going to do? You know, it's trying to pronounce names in, Canadian names in general. Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Yellowknife. What was that other one? I suddenly forget that there's a town. Wasn't there a town where like the Hells Angels basically took it over? What was the name of that town? Was there such a town in Canada? Somebody in the chat will probably know or correct me, and that's fine too. I'm happy to be corrected. I don't like being wrong, but then I'm rarely ever wrong. Kiro Soldier, Scribelight, I'll forever keep describing Atlanta as the Detroit of the South. It's beyond blue and corrupt. Just changing a name, that's just, that's not, it's like a non-apology. Etobicoke? Ecto Cooler? I don't know. Etobicoke. If you say so. Regina? Saskatoon! There you go. That's a really good one. What was that? 7 Days in May. The character that Burt Lancaster plays. His character's got like a double name. It's like, his name's like Michael Mattoon Smith or something. I always thought Mattoon was... I always thought that was I'm sure it's somebody's real last name. It's just a funny name. Anyway, let's move on to some educational fodder. Over at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, which I have done more than a couple of videos on in the past. Both scripted and live streamed. They've been very, very up on DEI and social justice for years now. Separating us makes us weaker. Students decry UW Madison's DEI cuts. Let's think about this for a second, shall we? Separating us makes us weaker. Now, what does DEI do? Oh, that's right. It divvies people up on the basis of race, ethnicity, gender, on a scale of value. You're right. Separating people does make you weaker. At least on those grounds. Oh, but DEI needs to stay. Okay, proceed. When Caitlin Ross, Caitlin with a Q, when Caitlin Ross applied to attend the University of Wisconsin-Madison, she pointed to the school's annual diversity forum as a reason for wanting to be a student. Well, there's a red flag. Universities can say they value students of color, but it's another thing to show it, said Ross, now a UW Madison senior. Why did you stay? Why don't you quit? She called the diversity forum, quote, a campus-wide commitment to celebrating that we're here, unquote. Yes, you showed up. Do you want a cookie? I'm here! And? But after hosting the event for over 20 years, UW Madison won't be offering a diversity forum this fall. Quote, future campus-wide events are being considered to build community and foster a sense of belonging. John Lucas, a campus spokesperson, said in an email to the Cap Times, quote, we'll share more information when available. The event's cancellation adds to a range of cuts in recent months to diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives on campus. UW Madison also, 1, dissolved the Division of Diversity, Equity, and Educational Achievement as a standalone entity. Well, hey, I got a name rebranding for it. Why don't you just call it the Division of Educational Achievement? Number 2, ended academic coaching to thrive and succeed, or ACTS, ACTS, a longtime tutoring program that served students participating in DDEEA scholarships and programs. Is that Division of Diversity, Equity, and Educational? Oh, I see. Okay. I wonder who qualified for those or I should say, what were the qualifications, the prerequisites to qualify for those scholarships and programs? Was race a factor by any chance? Number 3, close the Office of Equity, Inclusion, and Employee Well-Being in the Office of Human Resources. Well, they closed it. They just rebranded it? Okay, good. The university has also restructured student affairs positions away from focusing on specific groups and centers. You mean away from having some, like, racially exclusionary type thing? Asked about the changes, Lucas said some of these services were duplicated elsewhere on campus, and UW Madison is working to help more students succeed through a greater array of resources. Students have criticized the changes, though. Members of the university's student governing body say they are concerned about the, quote, lack of clarity and transparency from university administration about the future of DEI at UW Madison. Well, if I had my druthers, there would be no future for DEI at UW Madison or any other educational institution in this country, at least those that accept federal funding. If you want to be a private school and be racist or sexist on your own time and dime, that's fine. But if you're accepting public money, Quote, although some of these changes have been announced to the student body, the language included offers ambiguous commitments to supporting marginalized students while simultaneously eroding existing structures designed for that goal, unquote, the Associated Students of Madison's Justice, Equity, and Belonging Committee said in a September statement. Well, I mean, the language I just read said that they are working to serve all students. So, really, the line of demarcation is, are you a student or aren't you? Not, are you a student or are you a self-considered marginalized student? So everybody's being treated as a student and not weighed in importance on your self-imposed victimization. I know. Let's remind ourselves of that wonderful quote from Thomas Sowell. When people get used to preferential treatment, equal treatment seems like discrimination. So if there's been 20 years of the Diversity Forum, then I have to also assume there's been 20 years of this, you look this way, therefore you need special treatment, and we take pity on you, and you're special. Uh-oh, that's coming to an end. The BLK-PWR coalition the Leet Speak Black Panther Coalition, I guess, a community organization. It's not really for the community writ large, is it? That formed in response to a student's racist video rant in 2023. So a student made a racist rant and you made a whole group around that. Sounds pretty weak, but anyway. Said it was, quote, extremely disappointed by UW Madison's decision to dismantle DDEEA, the Diversity Forum's primary organizer. Ross, the coalition's chief officer, said UW Madison is taking dangerous steps at a dangerous time and, quote, separating us makes us weaker, unquote. No, not giving in to your racial exclusionary thinking makes you feel weaker because now you're not as special as you were before. That's the problem. You're not being honored or valued for something that says nothing about your character or merit. You don't get an easy pass because of your skin color. I know. There are historical precedents for this same kind of emotion from people, say back in the 60s, when being white was no longer a guarantee of success. I know, it's crazy. Republican legislators in Wisconsin have long criticized DEI efforts at the state's 13 public universities, including UW Madison. The legislature blocked millions in funding in 2023 until UW system leaders agreed to restructure dozens of DEI-related positions as part of a wide-ranging deal. This is what happens when you remind institutions that they are at the behest of the federal government when you accept federal money. This is what needs to happen. What Wisconsin has done is exactly what needs to happen with all of these institutions and businesses. Specifically those that accept federal money, because that's the more direct hand the federal government can have. Title VII stuff is more complicated. But seriously, the Trump administration this year has also cracked down on DEI initiatives at college campuses across the country. The U.S. Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights issued a letter in February threatening to cut federal funding to K-12 and higher education institutions that engage in DEI and race-conscious programs, prompting legal challenges. Challenge it. Let's remind ourselves what they were doing in the 60s and what the law has said since then. Quote, "There is too much going on already that our students of color are trying to navigate. The last thing you want to see when it seems like everything else is going up in flames is to see your university administration, maybe not completely abandoning you, but take that first step backwards," Ross said. Again, I know it feels weird to be treated equally and not being given preferential treatment. It feels like you're losing something. And you are. You're losing privilege. I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. You have enjoyed privilege this entire time. Unearned privilege. There's been a systemic racist philosophy at your college for 20 years. And now it's being dismantled. This goes on for quite a while, and I'm not going to read the rest of it, because I have other things to get to, and I already spent way too much time, although I think it was valuable, on the Pharrell Williams story. So there you go. By the way, links to all the articles are in the description below if you'd like to read the remainder for yourself. A 6-minute read? No, that wasn't a 6-minute read. No. Even if you took out my commentary, it's not a 6-minute read. That's a long read. Long read. Advocates table. I wonder how long a coalition with the acronym WIT-PURE would have less. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. By the way, UW Madison, we're not like racially exclusionary or anything, but we got this whole school-sponsored group, Black Power. Oi. Vowels are racist. Apparently so. Yeah. Yeah. The A and the O and the E. Yeah, those vowels, they support white supremacy. Because I mean, the phrase white supremacy has so many vowels in it. I mean, white supremacy cannot survive without its vowels. It just wouldn't be white supremacy anymore. It'd be gobbledygook. Ear is greater than DEI. Not yet, it ain't. No. Not until I see Forbes magazine extolling the virtues of ear, because then I'll know it'll have made it to the mainstream. But until then, no. DEI beats ear every day. Anyway. Okay, now, something a bit more serious and intriguing I read today. Well, read about today. I haven't read the article yet. This is from the BBC. New U.S. rules say countries with diversity policies are infringing human rights. Now, this is upping the ante quite a bit on DEI. Countries enforcing race or gender, diversity, equity, and inclusion policies will now be at risk of the Trump administration deeming them as infringing on human rights. The State Department is issuing the new rules to all U.S. embassies and consulates involved in compiling its annual report on global human rights abuses. The new instructions also deem countries that subsidize abortion or facilitate mass migration as infringing on human rights. The changes, which the State Department says are intended to stop, quote, destructive ideologies, have been condemned by rights campaigners who argue the Trump administration is redefining long-established human rights principles to pursue ideological goals. Okay, well, is it or is it not a human rights principle to do away with racial discrimination? Is it or is it not a human rights principle to do away with sexism? I mean, if those things are true, then you don't want DEI. The changes reflect a major shift in Washington's established focus on global human rights protection and signal the expansion into foreign policy of the Trump administration's domestic agenda on issues that have become a lightning rod of division in the U.S. over recent years. A senior State Department official said the new rules were, quote, a tool to change the behavior of governments, unquote. DEI policies were designed with the objective of improving outcomes for specific racial and identity-based groups. That statement is 100% true. I mean, it leaves out a lot of the mechanisms of it, but that's absolutely true. It favors and advances people first and foremost on the basis of their race and or some other non-determinative element of merit. Well, good for you, BBC. Since assuming office, U.S. President Donald Trump has aggressively sought to terminate DEI and restore what he calls merit-based opportunity in the U.S. Well, it's not just what he calls. It's what you just called. You see, again, at whatever point in your decision-making process you are giving someone a job or an opportunity or an advantage on the basis of their race, their ethnicity, their gender, whatever, at whatever point in that timeline, that's the point at which you're being unfairly discriminatory. If that's the filter point at the front of the pipeline, the back, or in the middle, the senior official speaking on condition of anonymity, why? Said, quote, the United States remains committed to the Declaration of Independence's recognition that all men are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, unquote. All men? Well then. The official added that rights were, quote, given to us by God, our Creator, not by governments, unquote. Other policies by foreign governments which U.S. embassies will be told to categorize as human rights infringements include, number 1, subsidizing abortions. Number 2, gender transition surgery for children. Seems pretty easy on that one. Number 3, facilitating mass or illegal migration. And 4, arrests or official investigations or warnings for speech. A reference to the Trump administration's opposition to internet safety laws. Yeah, that's what they are, internet safety laws. They're not, don't criticize the government laws. Don't possibly risk hurting someone's feelings laws. Internet safety laws adopted by some European countries to deter online hate speech. Someone sent out a meme that made fun of the government. Arrested. Someone made a comment about the changing climate in their, nation's population. Arrested. Let's see. State Department's deputy spokesperson Tommy Pigott said the new instructions are intended to stop, quote, new destructive ideologies that have given safe harbor to human rights violations. He said, quote, the Trump administration will not allow these human rights violations, such as the mutilation of children, laws that infringe on free speech, and racially discriminatory employment practices to go unchecked. Enough is enough, he said, unquote. Please follow through on all of those. Critics have accused the administration of redefining long-established universal human rights principles to pursue its own ideological goals. Okay? Such as. I feel like I'm getting into Pharrell Williams territory again. All right? How so? Uzra Zaya, a former senior State Department official who now runs the charity Human Rights First, said the Trump administration was, quote, weaponizing international human rights for domestic partisan ends. Quote, attempting to label DEI as a human rights violation sets a new low in the Trump administration's weaponization of international human rights, she said. Okay, so tell me why being against racially discriminatory hiring practices is wrong. She added that the new instructions excluded the rights of, quote, women, LGBTQI plus persons, religious and ethnic minorities, and non-believers, all of whom enjoy equal rights under U.S. international law, despite the meandering and obtuse rights rhetoric of the Trump administration. The new instructions excluded the rights of women. Where? Subsidizing abortions. Oh, you mean the right of a woman to have an abortion? Is that it? Is that what you're talking about? and gender transition. So being against the mutilation of children for sex insane people is now excluding rights for LGBTQI plus persons. Okay. Let's see. The new rules conveyed jaw-dropping animosity towards LGBTQI plus people, Miss Zaya said. Jaw-dropping? What? Outlawing child mutilation. What an odd thing to say. The State Department's annual Human Rights Report has been seen historically as the most comprehensive study of its kind by any government. It has documented abuses including torture, extrajudicial killing, and political persecution of minorities. Political persecution of minorities. Okay. Much of its focus and scope has remained broadly similar across Republican and Democratic administrations. The new instructions followed the Trump administration's publication of the latest annual report in August, which was significantly rewritten and downscaled compared to those of previous years. It reduced criticism of some U.S. allies while escalating disapproval of perceived foes. Entire sections included in reports from previous years were eliminated, dramatically reducing coverage of issues including government corruption and persecution of LGBTQ+ individuals. The report also said the human rights situation had worsened in some European democracies. It has, including the UK, France, and Germany, due to laws against online hate speech. Hate speech. Critical of the government speech. Critical of our multicultural cult speech. The language in the report echoed previous criticism by some U.S. tech bosses who oppose online harm reduction laws, portraying them as attacks on free speech. Often they are. When someone gets arrested for sending out a meme, a joke, when Count Dankula gets taken to court because his dog raised its paw, you might think it's gone too far. I like that. What he calls, as though Trump just came up with this all by his lonesome. It's not been talked about or opposed for years. It hasn't been criticized by a whole slew of people, myself included. But okay, there you go. Defending human rights. What a fascist! I know. And again, did they point out exactly what it was that was wrong about this? We don't want racially discriminatory hiring practices because, United States had that whole civil rights thing. What were they doing back in the 60s? What exactly were they fighting for? What did people lose their lives over? No, we can't have somebody promoting that same ideology of equal treatment under law regardless of your race in other places. No. And places that practice it elsewise, they're treating people fairly. No. One more article. Let's see. This is an editorial. And it may or may not be a good bookend with the Pharrell article at the top. Because it says, this is the Philadelphia Inquirer, as a black man, I was initially angry about plans to scrap DEI goals for city contracts. But then I remembered they don't work for us anyway. What? Why don't participation goals work better for black people? The answer lies in a system with steep financial rewards and little accountability. Okay. This is by Solomon Jones. I felt a rush of anger when I learned the Parker administration planned to scrap the so-called minority participation goals for city contracting. Okay, so they had racially and or gender exclusionary contracting policies for city money, taxpayer money, federal money. Okay. Then I remembered what I'd learned while covering race and city contracting over the last decade. Participation goals don't work well enough for black people. Do tell. This is not to say people of color aren't getting city business. Okay. The Office of Economic Opportunity said what it calls minority, women, and disabled business enterprises, unquote, received more than $370 million in city contracts in fiscal year 2023. So the Office of Economic Opportunity assessed certain businesses as worthy of receiving contracts first and foremost because their ownership was made up of one or more of these demographics: minorities, women, or disabled. Anyone else who did not possess those things was excluded from consideration. Okay. The city's goal calls for 35% of city contracts to be awarded to businesses owned by women, people of color, and people with disabilities. Okay, so you have a quota based on race, gender, and disability for giving out money. Taxpayer money, federal money. Okay. During the 2023 fiscal year, 31.4% of city contracts went to companies owned by people from those demographic groups. So they missed the mark by a little over 3%. Okay. However, black-owned businesses only accounted for about 13.5% of all city contracts. Well, I don't know if you know this, but black is just one race that falls within the category of color. I mean, there are lots of races that are not white, that are also not black. And unless there was a specific percentile that had to go to specific races, I mean, what if they spent all 35% of it on women, regardless of race? What if it was just like women this year? This year we're going to focus on women. Or the disabled. What if it all went to disabled, disabled owners for businesses? They'd still be fulfilling that. 13.5%, that almost sounds like in line with population demographics for some reason. Anyway, given that black Philadelphians make up the city's largest ethnic group, we're more than 38% of the population, that's a problem. Yeah, but there's also the women and disabled part to consider. I mean, not that I'm defending Philadelphia for what they're doing in the first place, but you know that it can't just all be black people, right? So why don't participation goals work better for black people? Because of color doesn't just mean you. I can't believe I'm having to point this out, but of color does not just mean black people. And the other two categories were women and disabled. So they could still fulfill their mandate, and you would not receive a larger share of the pie. I believe the answer is simple. Bias and race-based exclusion are built into a system where money is plentiful but accountability is not. Okay, you're the expert. Unless you can show me where in the city's, statute or whatever else with this program it said specifically the black population shall receive X percentage of this rather than people of color, then I'm not sure I see the problem here. How many Asian businesses received contract money? What percentage? How many Hispanic businesses? How many Native American businesses? Right? Or Pacific Islander? I mean, show me the entire percentile split amongst all the major racial groups, aside from white people, obviously. And tell me that black business owners got an unfair shake. You have to quantify this. In construction, a business where city contracts abound, developers and contractors tend to be big political donors. The companies are almost always white-led, since only 9.2% of Philadelphia businesses with employees were black-owned as of 2022. In addition, the building trades unions, though they are now run by a black man, Ryan Boyer, spent generations excluding black people. People of color does not just mean black people. Am I missing something here? That leaves the city asking white-owned businesses with largely white workforces to meet minority participation goals set by the Office of Economic Opportunity. Yeah, so they pick a business owned by a woman, or they pick a business owned by a guy with one leg, or they pick a business owned by an Asian man. I mean, what? And oh my gosh, they're still fulfilling the mandate. They're just not fulfilling it the way you want them to. According to a former manager in the OEO, who would speak to me only on the condition of anonymity, so we have to take your word for it, okay? Companies that don't meet the goals rarely face consequences. Okay, when did they not? Okay. What would they do? What would be the consequences? I mean, what would you suggest the consequences be? That's been the case for years. In fact, I wrote a 2016 Inquirer column that noted that in the 2015 fiscal year, nearly 70% of city-funded construction projects with budgets over $250,000 did not reach the city's participation goals for people of color, and 44% had no participation by people of color at all. I thought this was people of color, women, and disabled. Is it three separate categories? Is there three separate percentile pools we're working from here? Very few were held accountable for it then, and very few are held accountable now. Again, what would accountability look like? But even if the goals didn't deliver what they should have, it's galling to lose them at a time when the president is pushing an anti-black agenda. Okay. There's a hyperlink to the anti-black agenda thing. Unfortunately, this is a PDF, so I can't click on it, but I would love to know what evidence there is of an anti-black agenda. Unless, of course, we're going to say that trying to roll back D.E.I. is anti-black, which I have to assume is what we're talking about. President is pushing an anti-black agenda complete with policies that led to job losses for over 300,000 black women during his first year in office. 300,000 black women lost their jobs because Donald Trump wanted them to? 300,000 black women lost their jobs because of Donald Trump. Okay. Sadly, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Oh, I'm sure it is. Are you going to acknowledge that people of color does not just mean black people? Donald Trump has sought to erase black history in our city by pushing for the removal of a slave memorial. He pushed for the removal of a slave memorial. He sent federal agents to snatch black American citizens and Venezuelan immigrants from their beds in Chicago. Were the Venezuelan immigrants here legally? Were the black American citizens assisting in their crime? What are you talking about? He has targeted black political representation with a Texas redistricting scheme that judges have blocked for now. What do you think about the California redistricting scheme? But this is more than the president's. But this is more. This is about more than the president's recent actions. This is about Trump's long game, from RoadCon Incorporated v. City of Philadelphia, which challenged the city's minority set-asides, to the U.S. Supreme Court's decision to kill affirmative action. The multi-pronged attack is not just meant to set precedents. This attack is meant to set us back. When people get used to preferential treatment, equal treatment seems like discrimination. Thomas Sowell. That's why when we see our civil rights gains under attack, we want our leaders to stand and fight. Okay, so wait a second. When you see a taxpayer-funded, discriminatory contracting scheme being opposed, your civil rights are under attack. when you can no longer rely purely on the skin color of a business's owner to guarantee them a contracting job, your civil rights are under attack. I asked Mayor Sherelle L. Parker if changing the minority participation goals to small and local business goals represented the kind of fight our community wants from her. You mean assessing businesses for contracts on the basis of their quality of work and their history with the community? That kind of thing? How terrible that would be. Quote, I am 53 years old, she said. So? And I have been working in government and public service since I was 17 years old. You know, I've said it before, there is a title that I don't think people should really aspire to, and that's called career politician. Anyway, I don't know anyone in this city who knows me who has ever questioned whether or not I'm willing to fight for what I believe in. I apologize for weaving back and forth. My microphone is right in the way of the article. And so I either need to get two screens. I'm a one screen Luddite, what can I tell you? Or I need to get one of those like wraparound super screens that wouldn't even fit on my desk and probably push my computer off the edge. Ever question whether I'm willing to fight for what I believe in? I'm a product of this city. You heard me reference the intersection of race and gender. I did? I didn't, but okay. But I thank God that I'm made and built from the kind of material that says a speech is not enough. You have to deliver tangible results. What? The mayor went on to say the community should hold her accountable. This is the author talking. I agree, and we will. For what? And this is the author talking again, but I am one of those people who have known the mayor for years. She is indeed a fighter, and she's fighting this her way. We only need one thing from her, a win. So you want to retain racially, gender, and disabled discriminatory contracting processes and policies in your city because you think people of color only refers to black people and black people aren't getting a bigger share of the pie. That's what I got from this article. And that your human rights are being threatened because people are not being given special treatment or it's starting to wane off on the basis of elements that say nothing about the quality or merit of their business, but just that they look a particular way or have a disability. I don't think I can argue with that kind of logic. But there you go. Two screens amateur. Yeah, I know. I gotta have like a bank. I like in all the every time in a movie where somebody comes across the hacker character, and they've got like a bank of like a 9x9 screen thing on their wall, and it's got like doodads and doohickeys going off all over the place, and that tells you that they're a hacker. They're a technology guy. Yeah. The only show that I ever saw that didn't really fall into that necessarily was like Mr. Robot. He just like go around with like a laptop and just do it and then walk away. Be like, yeah, that's really all you need. I think the first image that came to my head was when, and not because it's the best example, but just the first one that came to my mind, when Batman or Bruce Wayne walks in on the Flash the first time in Justice League, and you know, Ezra Miller. I'm not going to call him Barry Allen. Ezra Miller has like that giant bank of the computer screens or whatever. Yeah. There's that one. Or, oh no, what was it? The Core. Yeah, you remember the movie The Core? Oh boy. If you haven't seen The Core, you really need to see The Core. It's amazing. So, yeah, the Earth is going to stop rotating because something's going on in the Earth's core. And so we have to send down a nuclear bomb to restart the Earth's core. And so in order to cover up this operation from the world knowing about it, they hired, who's that super skinny guy, that awkward guy? Anyway, they hired him to control the internet, to manage all of the social medias and make sure there was like a media blackout while they were drilling into the Earth to save the Earth from a stopping core, because superstorms and all these crazy things were happening, and this one guy in their operations center was going to keep a lid on the information getting out and not cause a worldwide panic while they were trying to restart the Earth's core. And he had like a bank. He shows up at the office and he's like, I just need energy drinks and some Cheetos and I'll be fine or something. Man. Oh man. The core. They just don't make them like they used to. Yeah, it's Armageddon underground and like more hilarious though. Hilary Swank and Aaron Eckhart, the guy who played Two-Face, and Stanley Tucci is in it. I think Delroy Lindo. Okay, I'm challenging my memory here. I'm not looking this up. I don't have this on my screen. I think it was Delroy Lindo was the scientist guy. I forget who the general government guy was. Oh man. Anyway, great cast, ridiculous film, but it's fun. I mean, watch it with some friends. It's fun. Oh, Bruce Greenwood. Thank you, Kiro Soldier. Bruce Green. That's what it was. Oh, Bruce Greenwood. Nowhere Man. If you don't remember Nowhere Man, it's okay. It was a long time ago. It was the same time that UPN was just starting and they had their first fleet of shows, and they had Nowhere Man and The Watcher. Oh, let me tell you about The Watcher. No, this isn't Uatu. This isn't Uatu who lives on the blue side of the moon or whatever. No. Or the dark side of the moon. No. This is Sir Mix-a-Lot. No, I'm not kidding. No, I'm being serious. Sir Mix-a-Lot has cameras all over Las Vegas. And he watches everybody in Las Vegas. And every episode, he would zoom in on one particular story. It was the anthology show, sort of like The Hitchhiker. Do you remember The Hitchhiker? Are you old like me? Or like Tales from the Dark Side or something? Yeah, Sir Mix-a-Lot was the Watcher. Oh, man. Why do I remember these things? Why? I don't know. The Beatles song? No, not The Watcher. I remember The Hitchhiker. Yeah, Hitchhiker was great. I love The Hitchhiker. That had some creepy stuff back then. That was like USA. On USA Up All Night with Gilbert Gottfried. Oh, man. What are you laughing at, Jay Bliss? Hey, this is serious business. This is Sir Mix-a-Lot. He was I remember he wore this big fur coat, and he had his hat on, and he was sitting in front of this giant bank of monitors, not unlike what I was talking about before with Ezra Miller. And he's just like, he'd give you a little like opening salvo narration doing his whole like Rod Serling kind of thing. And then, we get into the show, we start seeing the stories. Oh man. They just don't make them like they used to. Anyway, everybody, I'm just going off on very, very old television now. God, that's what, 94, 95 or something? Oh. Not years ago, although it's getting closer every day. Anyway, everyone, that's the show. I'm gonna retweet out that Pharrell Williams article. That's something else. I gotta clue people into that one. That is, there's a few shows that might benefit from reading that one. Let's see, programming note. Thursday, there will be TED Excellence on Thanksgiving. I'm thinking, I've done it before, I'm thinking I may start an hour or two early than 6 p.m. Pacific time. I might start at 4, just like, for early dinner. And maybe do a marathon. 2, maybe 3 TEDx's, depending on how long they are, how far we can go there. Just to keep company, those of you that might be Thanksgiving orphans this year. I'm not a Thanksgiving orphan technically. My family does a sort of combination thing in between the holidays to avoid all the hustle and the bustle. We call it Thanksmas. And it's not Festivus, it's Thanksmas. And so sometime in mid-December, we're going to get together to do our Thanksmas celebration to avoid all the traffic and the hustle and the bustle. But yeah, so Thanksgiving Thursday this week, TED Excellence, probably a marathon. I think 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern will be the starting time. I'll put out more on that as the week progresses. Outside of that, what else? Nope, that's about it. So, everyone, thank you so much for joining me. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things. Even though everyone here is so well behaved, you have very, very little to do. Oh, yes, the Discord server. Do you know about the Discord server? I don't know, because I'm not a mind reader. If you know about the Discord server, so on the off chance that you don't, I have a Discord server. If you'd like to join the Discord server, each broadcast, when I remember to, I put up a link. The link is good for 1 day. So if you want to join the Discord server, you have to click on that link. You find yourself on the landing channel called Say Hello. And in addition to saying hello, you just have to say the secret word. The secret word tells me that you're not a bot, have actually watched the stream, and thus are in the right, the privilege, the entitlement to join the Discord server. And today's secret word is impact. Just say hello, impact, and I'll know that you watched the show. Beyond that, everyone, thank you so much for joining me. Let's see, what else did I have to say? Did I already say the moderators thing? I think I might have, but if I didn't, moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things. I did, didn't I? Yes. Also, everybody who donated, either to myself or to the link at the Leukemia Lymphoma Society at the top of the chat box, thank you guys so much for your generosity. Very much appreciate it. Everyone, have a good rest of your Monday. Have a good rest of your week. If you have the week off, congratulations. If you have most of the week off, half congratulations. And I hope to see you on Thursday for Thanksgiving, unless, of course, you have better things to do. And after a fashion, I hope you do have plenty to eat and family to visit with and everything else. But if you don't, or you want to have something else in the background while you're eating your turkey, I'll be here Thursday with some TED Excellence. Everyone, hope you're all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.